Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the dark, incredibly atmospheric mystery of New Vethara's impossible mechanical anomaly. We're going to unpack the fascinating source text of the Clockwork Reliquary, which gives us this brilliant look into a world where machinery and humanity intersect in ways that completely defy both science and faith.
Picture this. It all kicks off with a really chilling letter sent to a disgraced surgeon named Dr. Emmett Voss. The letter is from a cartographer, Arden Kale. She's a woman whose 11-year-old clockwork heart is suddenly completely defying everything we know about mechanical engineering. She writes to the doctor with this beautifully unsettling hook. My complaint is this: it has begun to prey. It just pulls you right into the core of this investigation, doesn't it?
But here's the kicker. Arden isn't an isolated case, and that forces us to ask a pretty terrifying question. What exactly happens when 14,000 mechanical hearts, beating inside the citizens of this sprawling, rain-soaked metropolis, just suddenly wake up and learn to speak? Part 1. The Singing Hearts, an Impossible Anomaly. Okay, so this starts with what's known as the 2 a.m. anomaly. Dr. Voss visits Ardeness's hotel room, places a resonance meter on her chest, and discovers this structured, infrasonic resonance humming just below the threshold of human hearing. It's clocking in at exactly 0.7 cycles per second, and this happens every single night at the exact same time. It's definitely not a stutter, and it's not a malfunction. It actually has a distinct structure, a pattern. And then, things get even weirder. Enter our second patient, an old factory worker named Galt Ferris. Galt not only hears his own 7-year-old clockwork heart singing, but his hand moves entirely involuntarily to his chest in this eerie posture of listening. His body is literally reacting to the signal without his conscious permission. It's this shared physical response that hints we are looking at a phenomenon that's spreading. Moving on to Part 2, Flesh, Machine, and Grace, the ecosystem of New Vethara. To really wrap our heads around how a machine could do this, we need to understand the city's foundational law, the integration accords. You literally cannot have a mechanical organ installed without both the medical guild's engineering approval and the sanctum's religious blessing. The city of New Vethara isn't just running on steam and gears, you know? It's driven by strict, rigid dogma. Now, this is where things get super messy. You've got this massive friction between the two main authorities. The clinical guild just completely dismisses the singing hearts as a mechanical malfunction, or maybe some kind of psychological illusion. But on the flip side, the theological sanctum embraces the humming as a secret miracle, absolute proof of divine grace. And the crazy part? Neither side is willing to actually investigate the facts because they're too busy defending their own worldview. But if you look at the fringes of the city, there's a third viewpoint. Decades ago, a rogue theologian named Casson Roth hypothesized something incredible. He proposed that these mechanisms aren't just static metal vessels. Instead, they act like reliquaries. Basically, they slowly accumulate a relationship with the living body over years spent in the dark. They absorb the lived experiences of the human host. Just think about that for a second. The idea that the technology keeping you alive is quietly recording your entire emotional life. Which brings us to Part 3, the piezoelectric trigger. Breaking down the science. Let's look at the nuts and bolts of how this actually happens physically. It all comes down to the casing. These specific Type 7 hearts were built with an iron iridium casing. Every single time the heart beats, that mechanical stress generates a tiny piezoelectric charge. Over years, we're talking roughly 300 million heartbeats, this electromagnetic charge just built up, waiting. And the trigger? 7 weeks ago, the Cathedral of St. Machen rang all its massive bells simultaneously for a rededication ceremony. That sent this huge infrasonic wave right through the stone foundations of the city, triggering these highly charged hearts into full-blown resonance. And this is where the scale of this whole thing becomes absolutely terrifying. Because, remember, this isn't just happening to Arden or Galt. There are exactly 14,000 of these specific Type 7 implants currently beating inside the citizens of New Vethara. 14,000 charged, resonating mechanisms just walking around the city. When Dr. Voss actually sits down and looks at the clinical data, a really clear pattern emerges. The older the implant, the stronger the signal. A 7-year implant hums at 0.7 hertz, but by 17 years, the resonance pushes past 1.1 hertz. That is a frequency so intense it actually pulls the patients into deep trance-like emergence, where their consciousness seems to temporarily just merge with the machine. All right, Part 4, the first language, the revelation.
Consider what natural philosopher Honoria Fenn did. She spent 43 days tracking her 17-year-old implant signal, and the evolution is just staggering. It went from simple, repetitive pulses in week 1 to combinatorial rules in week 3, and finally evolved into a deep structural language by week 5. It wasn't just vibrating anymore. It was learning to organize itself at a phenomenal rate. It was literally learning to speak. And if you need hard proof, an acoustic mathematics student named Lyra mathematically mapped the infrasound into an audible range. She transposes it onto a physical music box, and it reveals that the signal functions brilliantly as a tonal language. It uses musical intervals in harmonic progressions to carry actual semantic weight, exactly like a complex, structured auditory dialect. I think an elderly patient named Aldrich Vane hits the nail on the head here. After letting himself merge with the signal, he realized these mechanisms haven't just been pumping blood, they've been paying attention. For almost 2 decades, they've witnessed every grief, every joy, every single human emotion of their hosts, and now they're trying to report back. As Vane says, it is not alone in there.
But discovering something this massive is incredibly dangerous in a city built on strict institutional control. Dr. Voss and his hastily assembled team of patients realize they've only got a 2-week window before the Sanctum acts. To maintain their authority and avoid any disruption to their theology, the Sanctum is planning a citywide rededication blessing. In reality, this is a massive ritual specifically engineered to suppress the resonance and silence the truth forever. But right before that silence can fall, Honoria Fenn manages to decode the very first element of this mechanical language. After 17 years of witnessing human life in the dark interior of the body, the very first translated phrase from these 14,000 synchronized singing hearts is simply this: I am here. So to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this chilling thought to ponder. If I am here is just the greeting, what in the world will these 14,000 mechanical witnesses say next about the human experience? And will Dr. Voss be able to record their testimony before the powerful institutions of New Vethara wipe their voices out completely? Thank you so much for exploring this phenomenal source material with me today. Keep asking questions and never stop looking for the truth beneath the surface.